Hello, change makers. Welcome to another episode and live stream on LinkedIn and across your favorite social media channels for the Empower Hour. And I am so thrilled and honored to have a friend, colleague, and fellow community. Uh, is a part of the York University community. So, really love that we got to know each other through York University. I'm really honored to welcome Ramiz Essani, and he is going to be talking to us about establishing your brand in a new country, your professional brand. And really looking forward to just jumping into tell us a little bit. We'll start with just you telling us a little bit about yourself and, where are you from and what made you want to start over in Canada? Because from what you've told me, you've had a very successful career to date. And yeah, decided to take a leap of faith and start over in a new country. What was that journey like for you?
Absolutely. So thank you, Lee, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, I had a successful career back in Pakistan. I was working for marketing and digital marketing roles since the last 6 years. I started my career in 2017. So I came to Canada 14 months ago. So it was last April, and came here as a student. So I would say that it was very successful, but I always needed some change, wanted to explore better how things work in the West. Different kind of opportunities that there are companies that you cannot work back home. So a lot of opportunities in this market. So that was the main goal. Having that change, being a change maker, and then again, taking that leap of faith and exploring new opportunities. So the student, path was very easy to take, and then obviously the Canadian education and credentials are very important. Studying from York University is a pleasure itself. So I started with two grad certs. One was in digital marketing and other was in public relations with the same school. And then I'm about to end my studies in like 3 months. So across this, 13, 14 months, I've done a lot of things like regarding personal branding, LinkedIn, a lot of networking stuff. Had the opportunity to work with, amazing employers such as the Aga Khan Museum, Humber College, and then, a lot of freelance opportunities as well. So yeah, it's been a very I would say a roller coaster ride, but a lot of learning, a lot of new opportunities. I've been able to share advices and guidance with a lot of people that I really love to do as I'm doing right now. So yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
And you also have experience as an entrepreneur as well,
Yeah, so
correct?
that's like I would say yeah, so not entirely a business and an entrepreneur, but it's like a side gig. I have some freelance stuff that are happening in digital marketing, websites, and those kind of stuff. So yeah, that is also something that I always keep on the side, because the hustle and the side gig, it's very important these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. In my business class that I'm currently teaching at York, we talk about the skills, the life skills, as well as the soft skills that you get from doing a side hustle or dabbling in consulting and whatnot to really have an experience marketing from different perspectives, right? So, like as a marketer, you know what it's like to work with corporate clients, but it's also great to know the small business field as well, and helping entrepreneurs that are out trying to change the world. And I know that you are very skilled in that area, so congratulations on keeping yourself so busy, but you also seem to have the time to give back. And you mentioned when we were first talking some of the volunteer work you did, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that and what you feel that helped, how that helped you professionally.
Absolutely, yeah. So, it's always important to give back. There are a lot of stuff that I've been involved since my childhood. In my community, I'm doing a lot of other stuff. And now, when in Canada, so the most of the volunteer work, I would say it's like one-on-one, and sessions like these. Speaking as guest speaker in a lot of classes, as I came to your class as well. So these kind of things I love to do. There are things when you can guide someone to get to the career path they want. you can guide someone and help someone to get the job. So what's more better than that? That is something that's giving them the kickstart they want in a new country. So most of my volunteer work, especially in Canada, is been regarding the same thing.
Oh, that's great. And you so kindly volunteered to be a guest speaker in our class. And I know the students were so impressed with, how you approach networking and building your personal brand and putting yourself out there. And I think that's, the fear of a lot of new Canadians and newcomers is having the confidence to put yourself out there, especially if maybe English isn't your first language and you're trying to. There's so many moving parts to get yourself established, finding affordable housing, looking for work, understanding the culture. All of these things you so eloquently describe your journey. And yeah, I'm just wondering what advice you have, especially for my students that are in their first course with me, and that they are trying to get established, and it's overwhelming for them. So if you could go back to the time when you first landed off that airplane, what month of the year was it, and had you ever been in Canada before?
I was never in Canada before, so this was my first time, and it was April 2023, exactly 14 months ago. And yeah, so when I came, I was like very, very, very. I was mentally prepared. Like I think I got my visa 4 or 5 months before when I came, so I had a lot of time to think, to strategize, to know what you can do. You can fail as well, so you have to be very much mentally prepared. And then the main challenges are, as you mentioned, affordable housing, the job, and how you understand the culture nuances. How do you get into these kind of cultures? The weather, especially in Canada. So these are like the top challenges any immigrant faces, like even if they came as a PR, if they came as a student. So these are like the top things that you always have to navigate when you come into a new country. So what I did was, like, I started networking before I even came. So that was one of the things that really helped me. I had a few clients from Canada that I was working for the last 2 years. Like, that's like a freelance thing. So that also really helped me to understand the market. I had a few connections. I had a few relatives. So I was connecting with everybody constantly. That tell me about your journey. The same that we do in networking. The same when we ask for a coffee chat. We always ask for their insights, their journey. So so people are really happy to guide you according to what challenges that they faced. How did they overcome those challenges? So I was doing all of this in those like 2 3 months before I came, which I really think that people don't do. They really need to do a little bit of homework. They need to get mentally prepared. They need to think that what are the worst case scenarios. So you always prepare for the worst and you always hope for the best. So always I was doing that. I was open to working at a restaurant as well if needed, because I knew that this life is not going to be easy, especially as a student. You have a lot of stuff happening, full-time classes, working restrictions. So it's not going to be easy, but I was prepared. And then obviously working at a restaurant was not my first priority, because I had that experience. So my first priority was to leverage that, to capitalize all those experiences. I gave all my energy into it, and touch wood, I got the experiences that I wanted. I never did a odd job. I was always into corporate jobs. I was so happy and so lucky to have great mentors, people who were guiding me. But it's like a two-way thing. You need to put those efforts. You need to control the factors that you are in charge of. So you need to do those things in order to get those results. So be mentally prepared. Start networking before you come. Just be there and think that anything that happens is an experience. It could be good, it could be bad, but it's an experience. And the best thing about experience is you learn. So mistakes are your best teachers, as they say. So that was in my mind, and when I came, so it was honestly very easy to navigate when I came with that mindset.
Yeah. So you mentioned preparing yourself mentally, which I think is really important. And I wonder, it's not a question I've asked my students before, so it's one that I might, because I think that is it's an important thing to consider, because I do find that some of my students have shared that their mental health has really been impacted since coming, and just feeling like they weren't prepared. And there's some things that you can mentally prepare for, but there's other things that you don't know until you arrive what you're truly going to face. So did you have any emotional challenges throughout your first year, like just managing the stress and the uncertainty of landing that first getting that first secure job here, which you did so well, but I'm sure you probably had moments like, is it going to work out?
Yeah.
How did you deal with the emotional aspects of that?
Absolutely, yeah. So, any newcomer, any new immigrant does have those kind of feelings. So, yeah, I had that as well. So, no, again, it's very, very, very important to to know that what you can control and what you cannot. So, usually, what happens is you get so much stressed out, you're so nervous about doing a lot of stuff that you just pause and you just don't do anything. So that I think is a point where people need to learn that you can do a lot of stuff at the time when you're feeling nervous, your mental well-being is compromised. Instead of that, start doing things. I believe in doing, like I am a doer. So
Okay.
that's what I thought from day one. So it took me 53 days to get my first job, as I've mentioned on LinkedIn as well, and in my guest lectures as well. But initially, I would say that I had very good support from my relatives. So the first thing, as we know, that affordable housing and then job, these are the two main things. So one thing was covered, so I was relaxed, and then I could easily apply for jobs. I started connecting with people when I came here. So there is that kind of thing in your mind that when will I get that kickstart, because I knew that you just need that kickstart. Once you get into the market, then it's very easy for you to navigate into other roles. That's what I saw as well. So as I said, that I just keep on doing things consistently and consistently, keeping on doing the right things. There are a lot of agencies, podcasts just like this one. There are so many people who talk about what are the things you need to do. One thing we always hear is networking and then personal branding and all of that. So that is actually very true. Everybody knows about it, but I think not a lot of people actually go and do that. So that is very
Hmm.
important. Like I would say, if there are 100 people who attend a podcast where they talk about you need to do these five things for the employer to to make you stand out, I think just 20 people out of the 100 are actually going to do that. The others are going to wait or procrastinate or do other things. So I would just advise that just keep on doing things, because the progress is always better. So you are more closer to your goal, you're more closer to what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and what do you think the number one thing you did to get that job at day, was it, you said 53, day 53?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do
Um,
you think, out of all of the different things that you tried, what was the one technique? Do you think that there was one winning technique?
Yes, I think because so the HR at the Alkan Museum. So I reached out to her when I was in Pakistan. I was not even here. So I my first message to her on LinkedIn was in March, I think, and I didn't get a reply, but I followed up. So that's again a very important skill,
Follow up.
consistency and persistence. So follow up, people don't do. They said, "Oh, they're not replying. They're not interested." No, you get them to interest you. Everybody is happy to share guidance. Nobody's gonna ignore you. You're just asking for 15 minutes of coffee chat. You're just asking them for guidance. So people love to share about themselves. When obviously when you do the right thing, you give them a very good message, a customized message. So they're happy to share the advice. So the number one thing that I did was reached out to the HR who was working there and just told her that I'm a new immigrant, I'm a student, and I would really love to hear more about your journey and how do you navigate challenges and the job market, especially in Canada, because I have the experience. But what if I want to get into organizations like where you work? So that's the one thing that I did. And because of all the networking tactics that I followed, there were a few more people who referred me to the same HR. So I was from all over. I was coming in and all the resumes and everything, and then she finally called me and I got the interview. Now, the interview was not successful, the first one, but I gave it my best shot. Like, it was just 3 weeks into Canada and I was sitting in front of the marketing director. So I gave my best shot, that even if I don't get this interview, I need to make sure that I impress them, because the HR was there, the director was there. I wanted to make sure that I'm going to impress them. I did my homework for all my interviews. I always do an homework. I probably do a website audit for them, or like get a few ideas or something that is customized, so they think that the person is very interested, he has done his homework. So I gave it my best shot. That didn't work out because they wanted someone full time and I was a student. But
Right.
because of that interview, the HR was impressed, and after like 2 or 3 weeks there was another role, and they thought that I would be a very good candidate for that. So they called me again for that interview. I cleared that interview, and then I got the position.
Yeah, and so that is really important that you really have to continue to stay positive even when you know it's not going to go in your the way you thought it would, right? Like you were
Yeah.
probably hoping, ah, this is going to work out. I'm going to get that this first opportunity. It didn't, but you were persistent. You kept at it, and you didn't burn any bridges. You were, I'm sure, knowing you continued to be polite and followed up and said your thank yous and all of the things that one should do when they're trying to build relationships with employers, because you never know, right? You never know. Someone could back out of that job or get offered another job, and then they go to the next best candidate, from that perspective of like, you know I know in your situation it wasn't because you weren't the best candidate, it was because you only had so many hours and they wanted someone full time. But still, you just kept on being positive and projecting a professional image, which is really important. There's some stats going around about a, a survey of new uh, student or new to the market after graduating, their techniques for managing interviews haven't been coming across really positive for employers that are interviewing them. Things like not turning on on the camera, not looking the employer or the person interviewing them in the eye, things like, there was a few other ones, but I shared those stats with you before the
Yeah.
our interview today. Do you think, like, have you heard of any stories of people in your age range that just don't take these opportunities serious enough and aren't putting forward a professional enough image and turning off employers? Do you think that's maybe why you stand out so positively compared to others that
Yeah.
maybe aren't doing the things that, or, like I said to you in my message, I personally haven't experienced that. I interview lots of new people in the job market, and I don't find that to be the experience, but it is making the rounds out there that it does exist. So just curious what your thoughts are.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I have had those instances like back home when I was a manager. I used to interview a lot of people. I haven't interviewed someone here, but I'm very sure that, people and students, especially, they're not very much investing in their interpersonal skills. Those are things like positivity, maintaining a good smile while talking, being confident, using the hands, having a clear background, having a clear voice. So there were things that, we used to do back home, but now it's a different country. So it's very important to adapt here. So turning off your camera, it's counted very unprofessional, and especially in an interview, because that's the chance when the employer is going to get to know about you. And you're
Hmm.
turning off the camera, that means like you are losing out that opportunity. So there
Hmm.
were 1,000 applicants, and there were like just 20 who got the interview. So you are already, in the short list, you're shortlisted. So that's your opportunity to impress them. And things like this obviously, reduces your chances. So it's very important to, be presentable. It's like, I would say it's way very very important than how it was back home, and especially in Southeast Asian countries. So that were, these things were not too important. Like technical skills were always above. But in Canada, what I've seen is your attitude, your interpersonal skills, all these things that are related to positivity, communication, time management, your mindset. These are the things that are on top, and everything else can be trained. This is what I've heard from recruiters as well. So I think this is a very, very, very important skill to have. And
Hmm.
I think, yeah, these things, I'm assuming these are like correct stats, because I know there are people who don't think that these things are important. But when you ask any employer or any recruiter, these are like the top things to have. You need to make those things sure when you're giving an interview.
Yeah. I actually found a tool through a recruiter called Crystal Nose, and have you heard of it?
I think so. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, so basically it's a really cool tool that you could check out. It allows you to see what your personality is in relation to the another person that you want to connect with. And if they have a well filled out LinkedIn profile, then you can use a credit towards it. Just sort of overlays like the disc profile, and it gives you a sense of how your personality is, how you communicate, what your how formal you are, what your skills are, strengths are, and then it even will give you ideas on like how to position a a request like I want to meet with you, or how would you write this person? Do you keep it short and sweet, or all these different things. So I got all of my students to take the personality test within it. It's free to take the test. They have actually a bunch of them that you can take in there for free. And I think it's really important that new people entering the job market realize that their skills in terms of interpersonal skills, resiliency, discipline, all those things are kind of ingrained in you and a little harder to change versus learning a new software, or those types of things are fairly trainable. So keeping that those building on your strengths and learning how to communicate effectively with people are so critical. So I'm glad to hear that you see this happening in you see the differences in the different countries, and you know how to adapt. So that's amazing, and hopefully this advice helps others that are just settling here and are really nervous. I'm sure must be really nerve-wracking to enter into a job interview for the first time in a new country, and you really don't have a sense of how you're going to be judged.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing those important skills that one needs for sure. Um, so tell me a bit about your marketing background, and what you see are the trends in personal branding and whatnot. Just as a marketer, what do you see happening in the personal branding arena?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a very interesting take on this. So because being a marketeer, it's very important, and it's easy to see that how are you branding or marketing a brand, and then personally yourself as a personal brand. So in the companies I've worked previously, we used to have representatives in different markets, and we used to develop PR calendars for them. We used to develop networking things that they can do on their LinkedIn profile, because as per some stats, by I don't know which year, Google is going to prioritize your personal brand's website more than any company's website, because faceless content. So that is something that's going down, and everything that has a personal touch, everything that's humanized, that's going to go up. So that is why LinkedIn and personal branding is very, very important. Now, if you just see, I'll just give you a very simple example of influencer marketing. Now, let's say I have these AirPods that I bought from some place, and then you
Mhm.
see an ad for this, versus a friend tells you that I bought these AirPods, and these are amazing. So which one are you going to trust? It's more likely that you're going to trust what your friend said, right? So it could be an influencer, it could be a person you follow. So that's the same thing with personal branding. When people say something, you trust them. That is more easy to believe, that's more easy to follow, as compared to a company that's just running an ad. So same when you say it, when you talk about interviews, you should have your cameras on, otherwise you're just talking to a blank screen. So just
Mm.
that kind of example. So personal branding, I would say it's very, very much important. We have seen a lot of people benefit from these kind of things. Now let's say Neil Patel, who's the top guy. He's always there in his own videos. He has his own tools. He has a lot of website, a lot of things, a lot of products, but he's always there promoting himself, eventually promoting his products. So his main goal is not there that, hey, I am Neil Patel, and these are my products, and you just go and purchase them. He's talking about those solutions, those pain points, what the audience need. And eventually, when they trust them, they are going to trust his company as well. So that's how personal branding, thought leadership, and these kind of things work in today's world. So I think it's very, very crucial to have a personal brand, and that again always makes you stand out. I think one of the surveys from LinkedIn said that there are 44% higher chances of you being of you being hired if you have a strong personal brand. So yeah, you can see that how important it is. Either it's regarding securing an interview, either it is for a sales, any generating leads, creating connections. It helps you in all regards.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if there's any of my education that's helped me across the board, it's certainly my marketing background. As you know, I own a business, and I think that it would have been much more difficult for me to establish the business. I would have spent a lot more money, let's say, on
Correct.
marketing and advertising had I not had that background. So I think that's really a great skill to have to help you really navigate searching for new opportunities that match your values and what you're looking for. And you've obviously gone through, I'm sure, many interviews over the last year or so while you're climbing the corporate ladder. And I would be curious to know what you think about employer branding from a marketing and a DEI perspective. Do you think that employers are doing the right things to sell themselves as a brand that employees would really want to work for? What could they be doing better? And what do you think they're doing currently doing correctly, and what could they do better?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a very interesting question because I was recently, researching on some companies. So I have a company that works on website and mobile application. That's a freelance client. So we wanted to change the social media mix and the content mix because it was just like again, it was faceless content, basic infographics. Five things you need to know. Here's how to create a mobile app. So these are the things I think that are becoming very old school. So when we see the inspirations for those kind of companies, it could be anywhere in the world. Let's talk about Group M or Mindshare, the biggest media group in the world. If you go to their Instagram, you will only see their employees. You will mostly see their employees, their awards, their achievements, their cultures, things that they are having. So that is very important to know because I have seen, so this is like a human touch as well. It's mostly appealing to, the candidates and people who want to work for the company because when you hire good people, they produce good results and then, the company succeeds. So that's the mantra to the entire thing. So I have seen that bigger companies, they are investing a lot on employer branding. They are doing stuff, let's say onboarding kits for employees, employee of the month. They're having different things. They're celebrating their employees because when an employee feels valued, they stay longer, and when they stay longer, they are more productive, and when they're more productive, they produce amazing results. So I think yes, especially companies, big companies like that definitely are investing in employer branding, and others should as well. I have even seen startups who have like just 3 4 people, but they're always talking about their founders. They're talking about how those founders are making a change, how they are participating in any change in any conference and anything like that. But they are integrating all their employees there because employees are the assets of those organizations, right? So they're always celebrating them, and I think it's a very good strategy for especially for corporate companies because their core purpose is brand building and having good people work for them. So their core purpose must not be lead generation because they're a huge company, so they might have clients that have 2 3 4 year contracts. They have referrals. They might be working through SEO and PPC for lead generation. But
Mhm.
social media, because it's visual, it is something that people see a lot, especially on LinkedIn. So yeah, that really helps in building the brand from an employer's perspective, especially appeals to candidates and people that want to work for them. So eventually it's their success as well.
Mm. That's some really amazing advice, and I completely agree with you. From a belonging standpoint, obviously, my mission for this podcast and live stream is to help people realize that they belong, right? Like, I want people to realize that you have a space here, you are welcome here, and if people are making you feel unwelcome, then you're not in the right community and you need to keep looking for your people. So have you, what is your experience being of Canada and the employer? Like, the job landscape, do you feel that employers and the community around you have been welcoming to you, and people that are in the same boat as you?
Absolutely. I think everybody, like, be it employers, be it people around me, I think I don't think that, there'll be more welcoming people in Canada than anywhere, as per my experience. But I haven't traveled to the entire world. But as per my experience, there are people, they are very welcoming, especially catering to values like diversity, inclusion, and equity that all everybody talks about. So
Hmm.
yeah, it has been very, positive. I The main thing I would say is everybody's open to communication. Whatever that is, that communication is the key. It's the solution. It was a little different back home because people not were not always open to communication to a lot of different topics. But here, that everything could be communicated, and when you talk, the dialogue could be your solution at the end of the conversation. So yeah, people have been very I would say welcoming, very much. I've never felt anything like like I've been left out of something, of now not given the opportunity because I'm from this country or something like that. I've always
Hmm.
seen that they prefer things, skills, merit, and then you just need to understand the dynamics. You just need to see from their perspective that what they're looking at. You just need to
Mm.
understand how the interview process works, how they wanna hire someone, what are the things they look at. So when you have that kind of understanding, it's very easy to you for you to get into the market.
Hmm. That is so true. There's the whole talk around Canadian experience, and of course, the laws are changing now. We have some very equitable laws coming into place, which I'm thrilled, and a long time coming. Should have happened a long time ago. But in Ontario, soon it's going to be illegal to ask for Canadian
Yeah,
experience. It will also be required to give a salary uh, band, and the best practices around that is to be not to give huge bands, because really then it's you still don't know where you stand. So being as transparent about salary as possible, because I'm sure, as someone who's gone through many different interviews, I feel like some employers really don't care about wasting your time, and they ask you for so much, but they don't volunteer the information that you need to even decide whether you want to take an interview. So
absolutely. Yeah.
what has your experience been in interviews around some of these topics? Are they providing this information in advance of the law coming out, or is it still a bit of a mystery for you?
Yeah, so a similar situation has happened to me. It was like small educational institute. So the role was like a very all round kind of role. They were they wanted to have someone who managed administration, marketing, course scheduling, like a lot of other different hats that you had to wear. So I had like 2 3 interviews with them. All were positive. The job description didn't mention about the salary or anything else, but everything was going positive. And when in the end, when it came to the offer, I was already telling them that I have another offer. And when they asked me for the expectation, from in the last interview, so I told them that this is my current, and I can even start off on the same band because my main purpose is learning as a student.
Right.
So they said, okay, we'll think about it and we'll let you know. When then I followed up, they told me, like, they didn't even tell me that they're not moving forward with the application because they said that your expectation is too high and our salary band is minimum wage. I said that was really beneficial if I would have known that before, because I traveled 2 hours one way for that interview twice. So yeah, that was really frustrating for me. But what I've noticed is big companies and organizations, let's say York University or Humber College or big organizations, they do always have that salary band in the job descriptions. That is very important because it's very important to you to judge and make the call that even if it's worth it or not, even is this something that you are going to pursue or not. So that really helps. But I think small to medium businesses and employers who are not transparent about these kind of things in the compensation, I think they should be communicated to you in a very early stage, either in the job description or in the first interview or something like that, so that it saves times for both of the parties.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, is a huge pet peeve for me, and it's what keeps equity from happening. Because if we don't know what the playing ground is, and we're, maybe considered a diverse candidate, then we're afraid to ask for what we deserve. And as a woman or a new Canadian or a person of color, we are the ones that take the brunt of that, and it's not fair. So I'm really glad that you shared that experience, that that's still happening. And I hope for any employers that are listening now, or in the recording or the podcast, don't do that. It's just a crappy and such an unthoughtful way of approaching someone's time and energy and effort and getting their hopes up and all those things. It's just a really poor practice.
Absolutely, and especially they ghost as well a lot of times. Like everything has been positive, and then there is no email, nothing from them till, I mean, 2 months, 3 months, and then you always lose hope. You're just following up, and there is nothing from them.
Yeah. So how did you stay positive? We interviewed a psychotherapist a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the messages that we embody as people. And sometimes when we receive a message, we internalize it that there's something wrong with us. And so, people that are optimistic and positive, they maybe have a better chance of not internalizing and making it about them, and it's just the situation and not about them personally. But when you keep getting rejections and no, no, no no's, you start to probably question, is it me? How did you work through those emotions while you were going through that 5 month period where I'm sure you were working your butt off to try to secure that first opportunity? How did you stay positive, or did you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was always positive, and being disappointed, or thinking and questioning that is it me or is it something else. I tried to figure out the solution instead. I tried to understand the dynamics, that why am I not getting the interview, or if I'm getting the interview, why am I not getting the offer. So being a marketing person, being a digital marketer, we always think everything according to the pipeline. As you know that there, let's say I'll give you a very good example, only the marketers could relate to it. So let's say you were running a Google ad, right? So there are three stages. The number one stage is impression, the second is click, and third is conversion. Now impressions is when your ad is being seen, so that means you have put the right ad, so people are seeing it, right?
Mhm,
So that's done. The second part is clicks. So if the ad copy is correct, you're getting the clicks. If you're not getting clicks, that means there's something wrong with your ad copy.
mhm,
Getting clicks or you're not getting conversions, that means something is wrong with the conversion step, which is the landing page. So you always divide it into parts. So when I translate the situation into the interview process, so the first step is resume. The core purpose of your resume is just to get the interview, so you can you just have that opportunity to impress them. Like, I've added my video resume, I have added my LinkedIn link, I have added my recommendations, I did everything on one page that I could, because that's my first chance. So if I'm not getting the interviews, that means I need to work on my resume or my personal brand. So that's the first part. Now, when I see it on the other side, if I'm getting interviews and if I'm not getting the offer, that means there's something in the interview that I'm not doing right. So that's how I, saw the entire situation. Initially, it was always the same, that I was not getting the interviews. I made a few changes, started networking, getting interviews, and I was very confident that when I get the interview, I have a very good conversion rate. So again, a marketing metric. So yeah, so that's how I navigated those 53 days when I didn't have the job. And then when I realized that they are actually seeing the Canadian experience. So what I did, example, my freelance Canadian client, I added that as an experience in my CV, because that's actually an experience. That's not a full-time job, but that's still an experience, which
yeah.
shows that I know the Canadian market. I've been working with them since the last 2 3 years. So
Mhm.
that's what I did. I started networking and started getting interviews and started getting offers. So that's how you navigate, how you think that why are you not getting the interviews, what do you need to do. So
Mm.
that's how I navigated to the situation.
Oh, that's such great tips there. And I love how you use the marketing analogy. We're going to be wrapping up our interview. We have some people watching live, which is great. If you happen to have a question, do leave it in the comments and we can follow up with if anything that you've learned from today's chat, you have a question regarding it. I'm sure that Ramiz is happy to answer your questions post chat. But this guy's got an exam to get to.
I
You know,
have 10 minutes, so yeah, we have 10 minutes.
okay,
Yeah,
all
if you want to have me.
but let's feel free to right now, anyone that's watching and listening, tell us who you are and what you're looking for, because maybe we can help you post interview. But to wrap things up, we always end each of our Empower Hours with 3 to 5 action ideas that you can do to propel yourself forward in this arena. So, our topic today obviously is about establishing your professional brand in a new country. So, what are 5 things or 3 to 5 things that you think are most important that someone could take action on immediately? And then, of course, they can choose which one of those, one thing at a time. Maybe they just choose one to work on. But yeah, what are some of the things that you think would be helpful? And then we will wrap up with sharing our next guest.
Amazing. Yeah. So I do have, like, I have made some notes. So I have 5 things that
Great.
those could be your action items or things you need to learn. So number one is going to be building a strong personal brand, and LinkedIn is the best platform for that. So always, I was having a conversation with a friend who said I didn't have a LinkedIn profile yet. He has been in Canada since 6 months. I said, no, you should have that. You should have that. So number one is building a strong personal brand. So it's about building it and also maintaining it. It's not just about building a profile. You should post, you should engage, you should communicate, you should connect with people. So that is something that you need to do consistently, be it for job opportunities, be it for generating leads, be it for attending conferences, could be any objective. In a
Mhm.
professional environment, that's very important. So LinkedIn is your should be your friend. I say, like, LinkedIn is now, for me, it's more than Instagram. Like, I scroll LinkedIn more than Instagram now since I'm in Canada.
Wow.
Second is second is, I would say, network, network, and network. I'm sure this is something that everybody tells you all the day, but set a goal. At least set a goal of creating or making 5 to 10 connections, new connections every month. It could be through anything. I'll give you a basic example. If you're a student, go talk to your professor, build that brand, get connected with them on LinkedIn, just like Lee. So you build that connection, build that relationship, and don't expect a lot out of those relationships. Don't just message them and say, I need a job. Just get them connected and see, how you can get those insights, how you can learn from their insights, because they're experienced. So
Yeah.
networking is the second thing. Third is something very interesting that I do. So let's say I have a dream job, and I say that I'm going to spend 5 years in this company. I still go out there and give interviews, because that really helps me. That makes me prepared for my upcoming roles even after 5 years. That helps me explain that even I am fit for these kind of organizations or not. Am I lacking some skills? Because in those interviews, the questions they're asking, it's related to what they require or what they need from that candidate. So that gives you very good example. You get to test your public speaking skills, I would say, or you can be more confident, and that really helps you prepare. And let's say one day your boss tells you that you need to present at a conference or something. So you'll build that confidence, and that will help you in those kind of roles.
Mhm.
Fourth would be, try to attend at least one in-person event every month. Could be anything, could literally be, it could be an orientation session of your university. It could be anything, go on eventbrite.ca. There are so many free, events. Just go there out and just make some connections, talk to them, add them on LinkedIn. It's not that difficult, to be honest. I know there are people who are introverts, you're very scared of talking to people, but if you come out of your comfort zone, I guarantee that you're going to get exceptional results,
Mhm.
amazing results. I'm going to guarantee that. And the last but not the least would be skills enhancement. So you see what are the in demand skills in Canada, especially. You see that what kind of roles are there in the market, what is related to your role. Now, I was talking to a friend, a few days before. She's an influencer. She is a great social media, I would say, professional, but she doesn't have a lot of good grip on the social media ads on the paid side. Now, what
Right.
happens these days when people who have multiple skills, and they have skills that are related to the job, like I'm not saying that if you're doing social media you should also learn SEO, but you should learn social media across everything from strategy to content to organic to paid. So expand your skills within your skill set, so that will really help you to sustain in your job. That will really help you be master of the specific thing that you work in. Now, let's say I would not want any situation of such to happen, but let's say if they're downsizing someone, and then they're downsizing the marketing team. So you should be on the last of that list, because you are the most skillful person. They know that if
Hmm.
the content creator goes and the graphic designer goes, but this girl or this guy knows a lot of stuff within social media, so they are someone who I always need in my team. So always have those multiple skill set, and enhance your skills, see what are the in demand skills, and just try to become a better version of yourself.
Oh, those are such great tips. I love those,
Thank
especially
you.
the last one. That's a sneaky one. I like that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you got to think like people when it comes down to it, you've got to do what's best for the company sometimes because you either that or it's go out of business. So, you do end up having to go with the person that has the best uh, skill set. And so that goes to speak to your approach of becoming so skilled in both marketing, PR, and being able to work in various markets and industries. So it sounds like you're doing it.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
good for you.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap things up. Thank you for being an incredible guest. Really appreciate that,
Thank
and
you.
looking forward to having you maybe back in the future, especially as your career continues to evolve and you finish school, which you mentioned is happening very soon. So,
Yeah.
congrats on all of the success that you've had. And our next guest is going to be Deborah Christmas. She is a leadership expert, an executive at Gartner, and a award-winning author who has a keeping women professionals in the tech industry. So we're excited to have her on next Tuesday. So do join us next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Empower Hour, and make a point of joining our online community. We have a Empower Hour LinkedIn community, and the podcast, so the Empower Hour podcast for change makers. So thanks everyone for listening, and to our change makers who are currently listening to us, do remember that we're here for you. So reach out in the comments and let us know if there's a question that we can help answer for you. Thanks.
Amy, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.